Hi there, it's Lee here again, and this time around I'm going to talk a bit more about business, but the topic in particular is why business is a vehicle that will fuel the rest of your life. So what I've made a point of commenting here is that when people get into business, they don't necessarily think about why they're getting into it, which is something that I really aim to work with people on. It's a big passion of mine to make sure that you're doing the right thing for the right reasons and really being consciously doing so and being mindful of what you're doing. Now, when it comes to business itself, what happens is a lot of people tend to get going in business. They think it's a great idea or they've got a great idea and they just want to get started because maybe they don't want to work for someone else. Maybe they don't feel they've got the right skill set to work for someone else. Maybe they've been told they can't, or maybe they've been made redundant. I mean, this can happen at any stage in our lifetimes. You don't have to be, a 16-year-old genius entrepreneur. You can start out at any age. It doesn't matter if you're in your teens, your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s. If you're breathing and alive, you can actually start business. So all you need to do is get going. But you also need to understand your reason behind it and what you're trying to achieve at the end of the day, because you need an exit plan. Anything that we do, anything that we consciously do, we need to make sure we have an exit strategy in mind. Otherwise, we end up in this pitfall that we just start plummeting and we just continually fall. We just don't know when we're going to stop, because that's what happens. Because we've got no plan. There's nothing at the bottom. There's no safety net, nothing there. And this is key to being in business. You need to have the end in mind. That doesn't mean that your business has to stop, that it has to end at some point. I mean, that may be an exit for you. One good strategy that a lot of people tend to employ is building a business with the exit in mind to sell. They're building something that is cash flow generating, it's profitable, it's got an actual intrinsic value, can't get my words out, and they can then sell that for a profit at the end. So that allows them to then move on to the next thing, or to retire, or whatever they want to do, go live on a beach somewhere, it's fine. But there's different types of exits you could aim for. You could be aiming to build a business for the long term and leave that as a legacy for your family, your children, throughout the generations. You could be building a business to contribute to the world. I don't know why I can't get my words out, but the business is there to serve a purpose, and you need to understand what that is before you even get into it, because otherwise it's just an aimless exercise. But one thing that I'm going to stress, and this is what this video is all about, is getting into business is great, and I'm a massive advocate for it. I have nothing against those that want to work for an employer, that want to be on the corporate ladder. That's absolutely fine. That will fuel your life in the same way that a business can, but a business just gives you that bit more control over what you do. But I've already mentioned it there, and it's in the title. It's very much about fueling your life. So quite often what will happen is people will get into a business, they will start a business, or if you're in employment, you'll go into a job and you'll commit to that job for years at a time, for decades, or maybe your entire working lifetime. And it becomes your life. I mean, we spend the majority of our years earlier on when we start in work, again, whether that's business or for an employer, working because we're building something, be that a business or a career. It doesn't matter. We're building something. So we do spend a lot of time doing so. And that's okay, as long as we do it in balance, which is a key kind of topic of mine. I want to make sure that we're living with balance, so that we are living fulfilled, which means that we're enjoying what we're doing in the now, as well as building something for the future. But what will happen is we get stuck in this pattern that we get involved in a business or in a career, in a job, and we just get onto autopilot. So I talk about this separately, about automatic responses and ways of being, and there's a lot of things that we do autonomously that we just don't even think about, and it's all down to habitual movement and practice and actions, because what will happen is over time you do the same thing repetitively, it becomes automatic. And I've used the example previously somewhere else about how when you are learning to drive, so for those of you that can, then great, you're going to understand this. Those that can't, well, hopefully you still will. But when you're learning to drive, when you start out learning to drive a vehicle, so let's just assume it's a car, and we're going to assume it's a manual gearbox and not automatic, so that makes it a bit simpler, but it's kind of irrelevant. But the point is that when you start out, you don't know anything. You don't know how to operate the car, so you don't know how to really turn the wheels properly when there's a steering wheel. You don't know how the movement works or how it feels. You don't know how to change gears. You don't know which pedals for what until you get taught that. You may not automatically know where your gear levers are, or your windscreen wipers, or the indicators. There's all these different buttons in the cockpit of a car, And it's not rocket science, it's not particularly difficult, but when you first start out, it's alien, you don't know where anything is, so you have to search for it, which is why it takes people time, and obviously some people longer than others, but it does take people time to learn how to drive and how to operate that bit of machinery. And it doesn't end at the vehicle itself. You know, it goes outside the vehicle to the rules of the road, the rules in your country, the rules in different countries, you know, how the rights of way work when it comes to other vehicles, when it comes to different types of vehicles, when it comes to pedestrians, the different types of crossings you have, and the traffic lights and cameras and speed limits, all these different things, they have all these different meanings. So you have to learn all of these, but once you've done it long enough, these things become second nature. And then the problem is that we get into an automatic habit. So we no longer have to think about changing gear when we get in the car and, you know, going up a hill or down a hill. That's fine. We just do it automatically. We don't really have to think about braking. We just do it because we know how to. Same with accelerating. But then think about your commute when you're going to work. If this is something you do all the time and it's to the same location, to the same building, then over time that becomes automatic and you start not realizing what you're doing. I think it was in the last video that I spoke about this, where it becomes an unconscious habit. Now, why am I kind of covering this again? Well, it's an important topic, so I do want to make sure that people are getting the benefit of this because it is really important. But it comes back to how you're operating that business, because when you get going in the business, and I'm going to talk about business primarily because, as I keep saying, I'm a huge advocate for it and the freedom it can give you. But when you get going into a business, you know, you start out, it's all exciting, it's new, it's shiny, you know, you've got all these ideas buzzing around your head, and you're implementing these things and you're taking action, and you know, things are progressing and it's all exciting, and it is really exciting times. And then what happens is the thing starts to become a bit samey. You start doing the same thing day in, day out, so it becomes repetitive. So it's the same as the example I've given about learning how to drive. You start to repeat your actions, it becomes an automatic habit. But then you get stuck because you're not consciously thinking about what you're wanting to do with this business. You don't have that end in mind because you've not planned ahead for it. So you end up just getting into this pattern, this routine of doing the same thing day in, day out. And whilst that business may be profitable and it may be cash flowing for you, which is obviously the aim of this, you are spending all your time and energy on that business because you haven't yet got out of that habit of being involved in the business. You know, you've gone from day zero where you've had to set everything up from scratch. Even if you're now hiring employees, you have still set everything up from scratch. You're still actively working in the business day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute, because you're doing things in that business. But because you've not got that end in mind and you've not planned ahead, maybe, you don't know how to break that cycle. And then over time, you just keep doing the same thing. So it becomes automatic and you end up then trapped in your business. So you get up the same as if you were going to work. I mean, if you're working for an employer, and the reason why I prefer business to working for an employer is because when you're an employee and you're working for someone else, you're being told when you need to work, how long you need to work, for the type of work you need to do. The whole point of a business is it gives you a lot more freedom. I mean, we still have things that we have to do. We still have hours in the day that we have to put into our businesses and tasks that we have to complete. And we're our own boss. We tell ourselves what to do. But that's the point. We have the control over that. We have the choice and the freedom about that, about what we do. And what you don't want to then do is get stuck in that same pattern that you can very easily and much more easily get caught up in the employment world, which is just going on to the same cycle, the same pattern day in, day out, minute after minute, because it's mind-numbing and frankly it's just not fulfilling. And a big key thing that I really want to share with people, and I want people to do, is to understand that you can live a fulfilled life, but to live a fulfilled life you need to be doing it now, not in the future. And if you're doing it now, that means that you're not going through life unconsciously, you're not going through it on autopilot. You're actually thinking about what you're doing in the moment, you're doing what you want to do, you're enjoying what you're doing. And you can't be enjoying what you're doing if you're just on autopilot, because you're not even thinking, you're not experiencing it, you're just doing it. And that's just not fun, that's just robotic. You might as well be a machine. So when I've titled this video, I've titled it around the fact that business is the vehicle that fuels your life. And it should be that business is a vehicle that you can control. And what the business is doing, like you would fuel a car, you would fuel a vehicle to move. Your business is giving your life the fuel to move, the momentum that your life needs. Life isn't about working. Let's face it, that's not what we're here for. We do not get born and from day one we're at work. We just don't. Now, as we get older and we start growing and we start getting educated, that is all building for us to work towards our society and contribute to our society. And that's fantastic. That's the world that we live in. That's the species we've evolved into. And everyone should contribute. There's no two ways about it. But there are different ways you can do so. And in terms of what you do with yourself and how you live your life, it's inevitable that we do need money. There's pretty much few countries in the world that I can think of that don't have some sort of currency. Any developed country certainly has a currency because it's how we do fair exchange. It's how we buy goods and services. So there are always forms of currency. And the only way to get that currency is either to sell goods or services or to provide goods and services that you get remunerated for. So having a business or working for someone in another business. And if you understand that, you understand that business isn't there for you to live in. Business is not your life. Even if it's your passion, even if you love what you do for your business and in your business, it is not your life. There is so much more to life to experience. There are relationships to have. There are partners to meet. There are friends to meet, places to visit, things to do, activities to take part in, all these different wonderful sites that we have. Now, you may not want to do all of this, and that's okay. You need to do what you want to do with your life. But let's face it, if I'm talking to you and you're watching this and you're a business owner, you got into business because you want something more out of life. Because getting into business is not easy. It can be hard. It can be very hard. It's challenging. There are problems and you don't always have someone else to lean on. More often than not, especially in the early days, you're the person that's got to come up with a solution. You're the person who's got to map out that way ahead until you can get the support in place or the staff in place that you need to help you along that journey. It's on your shoulders. Now, that's a lot harder than just going into work one day and being told, sit at this desk, do this task, leave at the end of the day and I'll give you some money. It's a very different world to live in. So if you have that mindset that you are in a business, you have a business, or you're starting out and you're wanting to get into business, well, then you're different, because that means that you want something more from your life. And if you want something more from your life, you need to realize that business is not life. Now, business can be a huge part of your life. It's a huge part of mine. I love business. I think it's really interesting, all the different things you can do with it and the opportunities that it creates for you and the experiences it can create. But that's the point. It's something that is creating for me. It's not something that I'm doing for the business. And there is a subtle difference there, and I'm hoping that this is coming across clear because it is a really key point. We're here to live. That means that we live, we experience, we do different things, we partake in different activities, we meet different people, we experiment with what we're doing in our lives. Business can be a part of that, absolutely, but it is not the be-all and end-all. We still have other things that we can do in our lifetime. And when we're talking about retirement, especially when we're talking about retirement, that means that we have goals that we want to achieve. There's things that we want to do. So why wait till retirement when you can do that now? And if you're going to get involved in a business, then you're doing the right thing. You're on the right step. But you need to realize that business is the thing that will allow you to do those things that you want to do in the future, but you can do them now. It's just a matter of not allowing that business to take over your life. So this is not to say don't try hard in business. Don't try and be successful. It's the opposite. I'm all about being successful, but I'm also about being fulfilled. And there is no point, if you're getting into business because you want to avoid the rat race or you want to get out of the rat race, there's no point in leaving all of that or avoiding that to just create your own, because you're just trading one thing for something else that inevitably is much harder. So you're just making it much harder for yourself. Business is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be enjoyable. You're right, you don't have to enjoy your business. Let's face it, not everyone does. And I'm not saying that you have to. I would love it if you did. I would love it if everyone did, because we want to be doing the things that we enjoy all the time. And living a fulfilled life means that we need to be happy and enjoying what we're doing. But there may be a business that you've created that you just don't enjoy. Now, you may want to exit that business if that's the case, but if you can, and it's the thing that is sustaining your life and you cannot get away from it, well, you need to find enjoyment in that business. But I've said it again, and it's that key phrase there, that business is sustaining your life. And if you're a business owner, if you're in business itself, you're getting paid by that business, and that payment from the business is allowing you to live. It's paying your bills, it's paying your mortgages, your rent, it's buying your food, it's paying for fuel in the vehicle, it's buying the vehicle itself, it's buying the utilities that you need to survive, your gas, your electricity, your water. It's allowing you to experience the things that you want to experience in life. If that's traveling abroad, if that's certain activities and hobbies that you enjoy, These things require payment. Payment requires currency, and currency comes from somewhere. And you either get that from a business or you get that from a job. And if you want more freedom in life and you're watching this, that means that you are either in business or wanting to be in business. So then you need to really understand that message that I've just given, that business is there to fuel and fund your life. It's not the other way around. There is no point in starting a business if you are going to work 24/7 on that business. In the early days, yes, you might have to put a little bit more effort and a little bit more time into it, but not all of the time, because you're doing it wrong if that's the case. Now, you may argue that yes, you love your business and that is what you want out of life. That may be true, and I'm not going to argue with you if that is the case. And if that is you and you're really enjoying that, then fantastic. Kudos to you. Keep on going. But the majority of us don't want to do that. The majority of us don't want to slave and labour to enjoy what we do. Yes, we want to work hard, and if we're seeing results, we're going to work hard. That's just the way that we're wired. But we need to enjoy those results. It's about taking the fruits of our labour and enjoying them, not just building for the future and waiting for that in the future and enjoying it in the future. It's about doing it now and enjoying it now and experiencing it now. And I really hope this message is coming across, as I've said, because this is what it's all about. Business isn't something to get stuck in. It isn't something to start and just do on its own, day in, day out, in isolation, because that's a very hard, very stressful and very lonely place to be. Business is about creating a life outside of business. It's part of your life, and it should be part of your life, but it's to create things external to the business. I mean, a business ultimately won't serve you in your lifetime the way that you probably want it to. Now, what I mean by that is, what a business will do is, if you set it up right and you do it right and you do it for the long term, then it will provide for you the long term. It will provide you the currency, the funds that you need to live long term in perpetuity until the day you die, and that's great. And it can outlast your lifetime. It can be left as a legacy, as I said. It depends on your exit strategy. But business isn't there to take over your life. It isn't supposed to be your life. We're not born to be business people, to be workers. We contribute, we provide, we participate, but we live in a world and a society that is built on more than just one person. So we're not here to slave and slave and slave and slave and slave and then wait for something better tomorrow or the next day or in retirement, or if you believe in next lives, I'm sorry, but it's contentious, but I don't necessarily agree with that, because we don't know what comes after this lifetime, and that is irrespective of your beliefs. There's just no proof. Now, again, that is contentious, and I don't want no backlash from it, but it is true. We just don't know. It's a fact. We don't know. So whilst we're here, why not experience life? Why not enjoy the world around us while it's here, while we're here? That means that if you're in business, then great, you've made a fantastic choice, but don't let it be all-consuming. Don't let it take over your life. Yes, it will be stressful, there'll be hard days, there'll be challenges, there'll be problems, but these things can all be overcome. They can be resolved, they can be outsourced, you can leverage other people, you can have people come in and support your business, like myself. I'll come in and help you out with your business. So you don't have to do it alone, but it means that you don't have to struggle and labour and toil over the long term. There might be spouts of that. You might have to do short stints of hard work and hard labour to get the thing moving, to get that initial momentum built, or to just introduce a new system or process into the business that will cause it to grow and expand. These happen in spikes, but they shouldn't be a continuous thing. If we're in continuous stress, personally, that makes us ill. So why would we want a business to be in continuous stress? It needs to be healthy. It needs to be well. And if it's healthy and well, then that's serving us. We're not serving it. And I guess that's the point I'm trying to make here. It's about, who do you serve? So you create the business to serve you. Or if you're thinking of starting a business, that's the mindset you should have from the outset. Your business is there to serve you. Or if you're, trying to bring family members in or whoever, it's to serve them as well. But it's a vehicle, it's a tool, it's a mechanism, it's an object for service. It does not rule your life. It is not for you to serve it. And the reason why I'm stressing that is because that's what people do. Not everyone, obviously not everyone, but what a lot of people do is when they don't have that clear goal, that clear purpose, the clear vision for their business, they just get going and then they get all consumed by it and they end up working to keep that business going. That's not what business is about. Business is there to keep you going, not the other way around. Now, if you need help with that, by all means reach out, because this is what I'm really helping people with, hence why I'm putting these messages out. But business is just a part of life. Now, I haven't talked about it a huge amount in these videos, but I run a success and fulfillment program, and it's based on 4 pillars. Now, when I introduce myself and I tell people I'm a coach, people automatically think, oh, you're a business coach. And I'm not a business coach. I coach people in life. Now, I'm not a life coach either, because I don't like the term. I'm just generally a supporter of you, a guide, a mentor, whatever you want to call me, it doesn't matter. But I called my program Success and Fulfillment because I want people to succeed and be successful, and I want them to be fulfilled whilst they're doing it and in the future. So the 2 intrinsic things there. But the 4 pillars that I've set up are the things I believe, if you get them in balance, will provide you a successful and a fulfilled life. One of those pillars, only one of those pillars, is business and strategy. Now, hopefully that tells you my mindset, and I mean, after this video it should anyway, but being just one of 4 pillars, it's a quarter of the balance really that we're looking at. And I'm not even suggesting these pillars are equal, because they're not in my mind. But business and strategy is only one aspect of a fulfilled and successful life. It's the thing that will get you there. It's the thing that will provide it for you. But it's to serve you. It's not for you to serve it. It is just a vehicle. It's like you going and buying that car and using it to travel. You know, you want to drive from England into Scotland. I'm in the UK, so I'm using that as an example. It could be anywhere. You want to go from A to B and you're traveling. Now, you can choose to do the long road. You can walk, you could cycle, you could go on public transport, you can buy your own vehicle to do that. But whatever method you're using, that's serving you. It's getting you from point A to point B. So a business is just the same thing. It's a vehicle that you choose to get you from point A to point B. Even if point B is in perpetuity and your legacy, it doesn't matter. It's a vehicle. It's something for you to use, not for it to use you, not for you to serve it. I'm going to stop there because I've been labouring that point very harshly and very heavily throughout this. But it is a really key thing, and I hope that's resonating, and I hope it's making sense. Now, if you do need any help with that, just reach out and let me know. I'm happy to go over it in more detail, obviously more detail, but I am happy to talk about it in a lot more detail and a lot more length if you need me to, but I don't want to make this too long about this one particular topic. So I will leave it there, and I'll just say goodbye now, and I'll catch you in the next video.